Somewhere right now, a file is sitting on a server that no one can read. A song is playing that technically doesn't exist, and a man who built the most valuable technology in human history might be dead or watching this video, and we would never know. The internet is the single largest collection of human activity ever assembled, and buried inside it are puzzles that governments couldn't crack, mysteries that vanished the moment people got close, and signals that no one has ever been able to explain. Today we're going through the ones that have kept the internet up at night for years. Some were solved, some weren't, and a few of them are genuinely terrifying. Let's start with the one that launched the 1,000 conspiracy theories. On January 5th, 2012, an image appeared on 4chan's most paranoid board, the /X board, which is already a place where people are actively looking for things to be scared of. The image was plain, almost boring, and the message on it said, "We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test." That was it. That was Cicada 3301. What followed was unlike anything the internet had seen before. The puzzle started simple enough. There was a hidden message inside the image itself, buried using steganography, which is the practice of hiding data inside other data. You'd think you cracked it, and then the next layer would open, and it would require knowledge of 18th century Anglo-Saxon poetry, or prime number theory, or ancient Mayan numerology. But here's the part that made people genuinely nervous. It didn't stay online. Physical flyers started appearing on telephone poles in the United States, Poland, France, South Korea, and Japan, all at the same time, all with the same Cicada logo. Whoever was running this had boots on the ground in multiple countries. That is not a bored teenager with too much time. The puzzles ran in cycles across multiple years, and a handful of people claimed to have reached the end, but every single one of them went silent afterward. No one knows if it was a CIA recruitment tool, a private intelligence agency testing candidates, or something stranger. The last official message came in 2017. Then nothing. The puzzle still sits there, half finished, and no one who completed it has ever talked. Now, here's one where the stakes are not theoretical at all. In October 2008, a 9-page document appeared on a cryptography mailing list. It was titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and the author listed was Satoshi Nakamoto. That paper became the foundation of the entire cryptocurrency industry, which is now worth trillions of dollars. Satoshi didn't just write the paper, he built the system, coded it himself, and then mined the very first Bitcoin. By the time he stopped mining, he had accumulated around 1.1 million Bitcoin. At current prices, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 to $100 billion, depending on the day. And then, on April 23, 2011, he sent this short email to a developer saying he had moved on to other things, and vanished. Completely. That 1.1 million Bitcoin has never moved, not one transaction, in over a decade. Think about that. The richest anonymous person in human history has either decided they have no use for tens of billions of dollars, or they are dead, or they are multiple people and no one can agree, or they are one person sitting somewhere watching the number go up and choosing to do nothing. The top candidates people always bring up are Hal Finney, a cryptographer who was one of the first people to receive a Bitcoin transaction and who died of ALS in 2014, and Nick Szabo, who proposed a very similar concept called BitGold years before Bitcoin. Both have denied it. Neither denial was especially convincing. Moving from financial ghosts to something that felt much more sinister when it first appeared. In 2009, a beloved Reddit user who went by the name Religion Peace passed away. He was a well-known, well-liked presence in early Reddit communities. After he died, people went through his post history the way people do online, looking for memories, looking for pieces of the person. What they found instead was a link buried in his history to a website called LakeCityQuietPills.com. The site looked like exactly what you'd expect from 1997, a broken-down forum with low-resolution images and barely functional links. It looked like spam, but people who looked closer found something that didn't belong there. Hidden inside the site's source code were encrypted messages using military-style language, references to contractors being needed for jobs in Iraq and South America, and the phrase "quiet pills" itself, which was later confirmed to be old military slang for a bullet. The working theory among the people who dug into it was that the site was a dead drop, a communication tool for mercenaries or hired contractors to coordinate work. When Reddit started publicly investigating and the story picked up attention, the site was wiped, completely clean. Whatever was there is gone, and whoever ran it apparently had the awareness to know when to disappear. Now we go from something quietly menacing to something that was impossible to ignore. On November 22, 1987, in the middle of an ordinary evening news broadcast in Chicago, the signal was hijacked. Not the audio, the entire video signal. What appeared on screen was a person in a rubber Max Headroom mask, the glitchy fictional television host from a popular British show, standing in front of a piece of corrugated metal that someone was spinning in the background to create that signature visual distortion effect. The hijacker spoke in a distorted voice, waved the fly swatter around, and then a woman appeared from off-screen and hit them with it. The whole thing lasted 90 seconds. Then the real broadcast came back, as if nothing had happened. What made this more than a prank was the technical requirement involved. To pull this off, you needed a high-powered microwave transmitter, and you needed to physically position it on top of a building between the broadcast tower and the television station, at the exact right angle at the exact right moment. This wasn't someone clicking a button from their bedroom. The FBI and the FCC both investigated. They found nothing. Nobody was ever charged. Nobody credible ever came forward. The Max Headroom incident remains the most famous unsolved broadcast intrusion in history, and whoever did it took that secret completely to their grave. Let's talk about something that, unlike most items on this list, did eventually get solved, but only after becoming genuinely terrifying. In 2013, a YouTube channel called WebDriver Torso began uploading videos. Each video was 10 seconds long. Each video showed a red rectangle and a blue rectangle moving around the screen with electronic tones in the background. That's it. But it was uploading these videos every single minute, 24 hours a day. By the time anyone noticed it, there were over 600,000 videos. The number stations theory took hold almost immediately. Number stations are real, by the way. They are shortwave radio broadcasts used by intelligence agencies during the Cold War and beyond, where someone would read a string of numbers into a microphone to transmit coded messages to agents in the field. The theory was that WebDriver Torso was doing the same thing, sending coded information through the world's largest video platform in a format that looked like noise. It made perfect sense until Google admitted in 2014 that the channel was theirs. It was an automated testing tool checking video upload quality and playback consistency. The most feared channel on the internet was a quality assurance bot. The real story is somehow both a massive relief and a little bit disappointing. Here's one that never got a clean answer and probably never will. Since 2011, a Reddit account with a username that was just a long string of hexadecimal characters, abbreviated to A585 by the community that formed around it, posted massive walls of encoded text to its own subreddit every single day. Sometimes it was a simple message in ASCII. Once it was a rendering of Stonehenge made entirely out of text characters. But 99% of what it posted was completely uncrackable by anyone who tried. And people really tried. An entire subreddit, r/A585, was dedicated to nothing but solving these posts. Whenever the community got close to cracking a particular code, the subreddit would go private for days or weeks. Then it would come back, as if nothing had happened, with new posts. In 2016, after years of daily posts, the account left one final message: the project has concluded, and went silent. Was it a bot testing encryption standards, an alternate reality game where nobody found the ending, an artist, a spy? The thing that makes A585 so uncomfortable is that it played by its own rules the entire time, and never once acknowledged anyone trying to understand it. This next one starts with a death and ends in a place nobody expected. In 2015, a woman uploaded a song to a music identification community. She explained that she had recorded it off a German radio station, NDR, sometime between 1982 and 1984. She didn't know the artist, she didn't know the title, she just liked the song and wanted to know who made it. What followed became known as the search for the most mysterious song on the internet. The track is a genuinely good piece of post-punk music. It is clearly professional. The production is clean, the vocals are polished, the band sounds like they knew what they were doing. But it exists in no database. No record label has claimed it, no band has come forward. The DJ who likely played it was contacted and said he couldn't remember it. Thousands of bands from that era and region have been ruled out one by one. This is a song that was professionally recorded, mixed, pressed, and broadcast on national radio, and has left absolutely no paper trail anywhere. It is not from a home recording. Someone made this for a living, and that person, or those people, have either never seen the years-long search happening, or they have seen it and chosen not to say anything. Now we get into something that carries a different kind of weight. In 1996, the early internet, specifically Usenet, the precursor to modern message boards, was suddenly flooded with hundreds of thousands of posts. The subject line of every single one of them was Markovian parallax denegrit. The content was complete word salad, random nouns and fragments strung together with no grammar and no obvious meaning. The leading theory was that it was an early experimental spam bot, essentially one of the first examples of machine-generated garbage flooding an online space. And that would have been the whole story, except that one of the accounts connected to the posts was later traced to a woman named Susan Lindauer, who in 2003 was arrested and charged with acting as an unregistered foreign agent for Iraqi intelligence. Whether the posts were connected to her actual activities or were just a strange coincidence has never been established. But Markovian parallax denegrit is now considered the internet's first mystery, and it has a real spy attached to it. There's also John Titor, who is worth mentioning because of how thoroughly he fooled people. In November 2000, a user on a physics discussion forum claimed to be a soldier from the year 2036 who had traveled back in time using a machine mounted inside a 1967 Chevrolet. He posted photos of the device. He posted technical specifications. He warned that a civil war would consume the United States in 2004, followed by a nuclear war in 2015. He described the future with the kind of detail that felt either impossibly specific or deeply researched, depending on your perspective. None of his predictions came true. The Civil War didn't happen. The nuclear war didn't happen. And yet people still study his posts because the internal consistency of his lore was remarkable. Every answer he gave built on the previous ones. Either it was one of the most elaborate long-con alternate reality games ever constructed on the early internet, or someone put an extraordinary amount of work into a fiction project and walked away clean. No one has ever credibly claimed to be John Titor. And then there's the one that got dark before anyone realized what was happening. In 2015, a technology blog received a DVD in the mail from Poland. On the disc was a video of a figure in a full plague doctor costume standing in an abandoned building. The audio was static and distortion, but when someone ran the audio through a spectrograph, which converts sound into a visual representation of its frequencies, images appeared in the readout. Images of a woman in distress and the text, "You are already dead." People who kept analyzing it found GPS coordinates hidden in the video data that pointed to the White House, and there was more encoded text containing what appeared to be threats. The creator was eventually traced to a man named Parker Wright, who described the whole thing as an art project. Maybe it was. The visual techniques involved were genuinely sophisticated, but the content of what was hidden inside the video is not something you make for a gallery exhibition, and the question of what exactly Parker Wright was trying to say, or who he was trying to say it to, has never been satisfactorily answered. The internet is enormous. It contains almost everything humanity has ever thought to write down, photograph, or record. But what makes it strange, really strange, is the gap between that scale and what remains genuinely unknown. Signals that appear from nowhere and vanish, songs that shouldn't exist, billion-dollar identities that dissolve into nothing. And somewhere in there, someone is still sitting on an answer to at least one of these things, maybe several. The Cicada 3301 candidates who reached the end know what was waiting for them, and they haven't said a word. Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, woke up this morning knowing exactly who built Bitcoin. The person who hijacked Chicago's airwaves in 1987 is either still alive or died keeping that secret. The internet is the most documented place in human history, and it is still full of things no one can explain. And honestly, that's the part that keeps people coming back. If you want more videos like this, subscribe. The next one might be the case that finally breaks you.